Hello, this is week 3 of the video response. The question posed is, as a school counselor or psychologist, what does the law require that you consider when assessing the needs to make a child abuse report, and how do you gather information for the assessment, keeping in mind limits to confidentiality? So I did a lot of research to answer this question. It's a pretty large question to answer, so I used resources or the ASCA and then the California Department of Educators as well. I found some interesting stats while I was looking up this question. Child abuse and neglect are severely underreported. From 2001 to 2009, 13,856 children were reported to have died as a result of child abuse, and the number is actually estimated to be about 7,000 higher than that stated number. So I found while I was researching this, and I used my textbook as well, the Introduction to Professional School Counseling, I found that each state is very different. So if you're living in Georgia, the way in which you would report would be different than if you're living here in California. Also, a lot of information was based upon how the principal wanted the counselors to handle the reporting. So I think it's really important that you establish a good rapport with your principal and kind of consult them on how they want you to handle it. Another important point that I would like to bring up is that the client is always the student, not the parent or anyone else. So I kept finding this a lot in the textbook and then also in my research. In terms of gathering information for the assessment and keeping in mind the limits to confidentiality, the second part of the question, you have to always remember as a counselor or psychologist that the client, again, is the student. So that your confidentiality lies within that individual, whomever the student is that you're working with. You should only be reporting confidential information. The most important point that I found was when the client is of harm to themselves or others, or when the client gives you permission to share the information. For example, in the video for the discussion this week, we noticed the counselor asking, okay, is it okay if I share this information with your teacher? Or in a lot of my research, I found the counselor asking, is it okay if I tell your parents this? If you're given the okay by the client, which is the student, then yes, you can breach that confidentiality. But other than that, your confidentiality remains with the student. It was another good site that I found called the childwelfare.gov, which kind of helped in terms of reporting of things to just assess, to make sure that you know the protocol, to have the information documented, to have the information analyzed. Have you, as the reporter, witnessed any parent-child interactions that might lead you to believe that there is abuse happening? For example, threatening comments or belittling or anything that's out of the norm. Have you also spoken with educators within the school, other educators or other administrators, and do they also suspect that something is happening? And then making sure just that you have the right information in terms of who to contact, like understanding local policies and procedures. So it really depends on your geographic location of where you live. A lot of the rules would be different. The states have different rules in terms of what to include in the report. I think this is a very important issue, and I think it's important to always be on the lookout, even if you work in an affluent area, kind of the area that I work in. You would assume that this doesn't occur, but I don't think that you should ever think that, because it's possible no matter where you are, no matter what state you're in, no matter what county you're in, this can occur anywhere. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye out for this and to always constantly be assessing your clients and, looking for reasonable doubt and trying to help the client to the best of your ability. Thank you.